Hello. My folks gave me the boot when I turned 18, and now, 10 years later, they've lost everything. I'm 30 now, and it's been a rough ride. My parents never really wanted kids. I was an only child and pretty much an accidental pregnancy. From what my relatives have told me, my parents had planned to stay child-free when they got married. My childhood was decent at first, but as I grew out of the cute phase, my parents spent less and less time with me. They were always busy with their business, which was their true love. I was always playing second fiddle to their work. My grandparents lived states away, so I had no other family around. I was practically raised by the TV and my school teachers. Birthdays and holidays were usually spent alone. They'd just give me some money and tell me to buy whatever I wanted. When I turned 16, I asked if I could work part-time for them, but they said there were no open positions. After high school, they gave me an eviction notice, giving me 30 days to pack up and move out. They didn't even help me move. A friend's dad with a truck helped me out. I ended up renting a shabby apartment and working retail. I had no real-life experience and no time for college. After a few months, I got fired because my manager had it out for me. I called corporate and they eventually fired the manager for various reasons, including theft. But they refused to rehire me. I went broke pretty fast because I was terrible at managing my own money and couldn't find steady employment. I ended up homeless, living out of a tent in someone's backyard during winter. My salvation came when one of my parents' neighbors found out I was living in a tent and offered to take me in for a while. She helped me badger my parents into giving me contact details for other family members. They reluctantly gave me a list and told me not to bother them again. I called my grandparents on my dad's side, and they were thrilled to hear from me. They flew me over to live with them as soon as they could. My grandparents practically adopted me, and my parents didn't even see me off at the airport. I had no contact with them for almost a decade. My grandparents despised my parents for how they treated me and legally disowned them. My parents claimed it didn't matter because they were well off, but they were wrong. After a year with my grandparents, I could afford community college, got an associate's degree, and landed a decent job thanks to my grandpa. Eventually, my grandparents sold me their house for a fraction of its value so they could retire to Arizona. My job requires me to travel often, so I'm away from home for weeks at a time. I don't have pets or a girlfriend, but I plan to make time for that in the future. One day in late 2020, I came home after a 2-week trip to find a large white van in my driveway. It had my parents' business logo on it, and I felt dread. They'd somehow broken in and were living in my home. They greeted me like we were best buddies, but I told them to get out. They refused, saying it was their right because it was my grandparents' house first. I called the police, but they were no help. My parents claimed they'd been there long enough to have residency, which was a lie, but I had no cameras to prove it. They even told the cops they had a verbal rental agreement with me. The police said it was a family dispute, and I had to file for eviction. Meanwhile, my parents squatted in my house rent-free. They'd lost their business and everything they had to pay their debts, so they expected to live in my house indefinitely. They got jobs, but only contributed a little to utilities. Anytime I tried to discuss proper rent, they claimed I owed them for raising me. I was at my wit's end and called my grandparents. They spoke with my parents, but they still refused to leave. Finally, after 4 months, I took my parents to court over their squatting. They fought the eviction, but the judge ordered them out in 30 days. My parents confronted me after court, saying they were disappointed in me for kicking them out. I called them hypocrites and told them I owed them nothing. They left, but not without a lot of tension. They spent the last month either guilting me or ignoring me. I marked the day they had to leave on a calendar and counted down. They left on the exact day, finding a tiny, crappy apartment in the next city over. I changed the locks the moment they left. My grandparents heard from them recently. They'd started a new business and were back on their feet. I Googled it, and it seems to be doing well. I resent them for putting me through so much, only to go back to their old ways. My grandparents told me I should sell my house and move closer to them, and I'm considering it. I hate winter and don't have many friends here. I'm looking into job options in Arizona. If I can't find anything, I'll stay put and get cameras installed. I doubt the same situation will happen again, but I don't want my parents to find me. If they need help when they're old, I won't care. They're dead to me, And the rest of my dad's side of the family feels the same. If I ever become a parent, I'll make sure I'm nothing like them. No child deserves what I went through. As time went on, I continued to build my life from the ground up. Living with my grandparents had given me the stability I needed, and I was determined to make something of myself. After earning my associate's degree, I got a job in logistics, which required me to travel a lot. The constant travel was a bit lonely, but it paid well and allowed me to save up. During my travels, I met all sorts of people and saw many different places. Each trip was a new adventure, and though I enjoyed the experiences, there was always a part of me that felt a pang of loneliness when I returned to my empty house. I knew I wanted more out of life, but I also knew that I needed to get my financial and emotional house in order first. One particularly cold winter, my grandmother fell ill. It was then that I realized just how much I had come to rely on my grandparents for emotional support. They had been there for me when no one else was, and the thought of losing them was terrifying. I spent as much time as I could with them, helping out around their new home in Arizona and just being there for them. It was during one of these visits that my grandmother suggested I think about settling down. She told me that while she and Grandpa were happy to see me doing well, they also worried about me being alone. Her words struck a chord with me. I had been so focused on building a stable life that I had neglected my own happiness. With this new perspective, I decided to put myself out there more. I started dating, albeit cautiously, and joined a few local social groups to meet new people. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I felt like giving up, but I knew that if I wanted a different future, I had to be willing to take some risks. One of the women I met was named Emily. She was kind, understanding, and shared a lot of my interests. We started spending more time together, and before I knew it, we were in a relationship. Emily brought a warmth into my life that I hadn't felt in a long time. She made me feel valued and loved, something I hadn't experienced much of growing up. As my relationship with Emily grew, so did my resolve to leave my past behind. My parents' betrayal still stung, but I was determined not to let it define me. I focused on my job, my relationship, and the future I wanted to build. Emily and I talked about moving in together, and I knew that it was time to seriously consider selling my house and moving to Arizona. After discussing it with my grandparents and Emily, I made the decision to put my house on the market. It was a bittersweet moment, but I knew it was the right thing to do. The house held too many bad memories, and I wanted a fresh start in a place where I felt truly at home. The process of selling the house took a few months, but eventually, it was sold, and I moved to Arizona. My company didn't have a branch there, but I managed to find a similar job with another firm. The transition was challenging, but with Emily by my side, it was also exciting. We found a cozy apartment close to my grandparents, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Life in Arizona was a new chapter. The warmer climate suited me, and being close to my grandparents gave me a sense of security. Emily and I continued to build our life together, and I found joy in the little things, like weekend hikes and quiet dinners at home. As the years went by, I occasionally heard about my parents through the grapevine. Their new business was thriving, and they seemed to be doing well. It still irked me that they had managed to bounce back so easily after all they had put me through, but I tried to focus on my own life. I had come to realize that holding on to resentment would only hurt me in the long run. One day, I received a letter from my parents. It was unexpected, and I wasn't sure if I even wanted to read it. Emily encouraged me to open it, saying that it might bring some closure. The letter was an apology of sorts. They admitted to making mistakes and expressed regret for how they had treated me. They asked if we could start over and try to rebuild our relationship. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to tear the letter up and forget it ever existed, but another part of me wanted to believe that people could change. After a lot of soul-searching and discussions with Emily and my grandparents, I decided to meet with them. Our first meeting was awkward and filled with tension. They looked older and more worn out than I remembered. We talked about the past, and I let them know how much their actions had hurt me. They listened, and for the first time I felt like they genuinely understood the pain they had caused. Over time, we began to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were many bumps along the way, but I was willing to give it a chance. My grandparents were supportive but cautious, and Emily stood by me every step of the way. Rebuilding trust took time, but slowly we started to form a new bond. Years passed, and I eventually got married to Emily. My parents were there, and while it was still strange to have them in my life again, I was grateful for the chance to heal old wounds. My grandparents lived to see their great-grandchildren, and I made sure to honor them for the love and support they had always given me. Looking back, I realized that my journey had shaped me into the person I am today. I learned the importance of resilience, forgiveness, and the value of family. My parents' mistakes had taught me how not to live my life, and my grandparents' love had shown me the kind of person I wanted to be. Now, as a father myself, I'm determined to give my children the love and support I never had growing up. Emily and I are raising them in a home filled with warmth and kindness. I tell them stories about their great-grandparents and the lessons I learned from them. The road to forgiveness was long and hard, but it was worth it. I found peace in letting go of the past and embracing the present. My parents and I will never have a perfect relationship, but we have found a way to coexist and appreciate the good in each other. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes the people who hurt us the most can become a part of our healing journey. I've learned to be open to the possibility of change, to hold on to hope, and to always strive for a better tomorrow. Looking back, there are so many moments that shaped my path. After moving to Arizona, I often reflected on my journey, understanding that every twist and turn had led me to where I was. Each setback had taught me resilience, and each success had fueled my determination. Emily was my rock, and her unwavering support gave me strength. In our new home, Emily and I built a life that was fulfilling in ways I never imagined. We explored the beautiful landscapes of Arizona, hiked the rugged trails, and enjoyed quiet evenings under the vast desert sky. The sense of peace and contentment I found in those moments was a stark contrast to the turmoil of my past. My grandparents were thrilled to have us close by. Their health had its ups and downs, but knowing we were nearby gave them comfort. We spent many weekends together, sharing meals, stories, and laughter. My grandfather, with his wealth of wisdom, often shared life lessons that I cherished. He would talk about the importance of family, the value of hard work, and the power of forgiveness. One evening, as we sat on their porch watching the sunset, my grandfather told me a story from his youth. He spoke of a time when he faced his own challenges, when life seemed unfair and the odds were stacked against him. But through perseverance and the support of loved ones, he overcame those obstacles. His story resonated with me deeply, reminding me that I was part of a legacy of strength and resilience. Emily and I continued to grow in our relationship. We traveled, explored new hobbies, and even started a small garden. The simple joys of life became our treasures. We often talked about the future, about the family we wanted to build, and the values we wanted to instill in our children. Our shared dreams and aspirations brought us closer together. The news of my parents' thriving business continued to reach me from time to time. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that they had found success after all the pain they caused me. But I chose to focus on my own journey, to build a life that was rich in love and purpose. I realized that my parents' actions no longer had the power to define my happiness. Our journey towards parenthood was not without its challenges. Emily and I faced moments of doubt and anxiety, but we supported each other through it all. When we welcomed our first child, a beautiful baby girl, our hearts overflowed with joy. Holding her in my arms, I made a silent promise to always be there for her, to provide the love and support that I had longed for in my own childhood. Becoming a father was a transformative experience. It brought a new sense of purpose and fulfillment to my life. I found myself reflecting on my own upbringing, vowing to break the cycle of neglect and emotional distance. Emily and I were determined to create a nurturing and loving environment for our children, one where they could thrive and feel cherished. As our family grew, so did our bond with my grandparents. They became a central part of our children's lives, sharing stories and wisdom with the next generation. My grandmother, with her gentle spirit, became a beloved figure to our children. Her kindness and warmth were a source of comfort and inspiration. One day, while visiting my grandparents, my grandmother pulled me aside. She handed me a small, weathered journal, its pages filled with her handwriting. "This is for you," she said, her eyes filled with love. "It's a record of our family's journey, of the lessons we've learned, and the love we've shared. I want you to have it, to pass it on to your children." The journal was a treasure trove of memories, a testament to the strength and resilience of our family. It contains stories of triumph and hardship, of love and loss. As I read through its pages, I felt a deep connection to my roots, to the legacy of those who came before me. It was a reminder that I was part of something greater, a link in a chain of love and perseverance. In the years that followed, our family continued to grow and thrive. We faced challenges, but we faced them together, with love and determination. Emily and I built a home filled with laughter, love, and endless possibilities. Our children grew up surrounded by the love of their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. One summer, we decided to take a family trip to the East Coast to visit the places where my grandparents had grown up. It was a journey of discovery, a chance to connect with our family's history. We visited old homesteads, walked through the towns where my grandparents had lived, and listened to their stories of the past. As we stood on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, watching the waves crash against the rocks, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. My journey had been filled with twists and turns, but it had led me to a place of love and fulfillment. I had built a life that was rich in meaning, surrounded by the people who mattered most. The trip also provided an opportunity for my children to learn about their heritage. They asked questions, eager to know more about their great-grandparents and the experiences that had shaped our family. My grandfather, with a twinkle in his eye, shared tales of his youth, of adventures and challenges that had defined his generation. One evening, as we sat around a campfire, my grandfather spoke of the importance of resilience. "Life will throw challenges your way," he said, his voice steady and wise. "But it's how you face those challenges that defines who you are. Remember that you come from a long line of strong, resilient people. You have the strength to overcome anything." His words resonated deeply with me, a reminder of the strength that ran through our family's veins. It was a legacy of resilience, of facing adversity with courage and determination. I knew that I wanted to pass these values on to my children, to ensure that they grew up with the same sense of strength and resilience. As the years went by, our family continued to grow and evolve. We celebrated milestones, faced challenges, and cherished the moments that made life meaningful. My grandparents, though older, remained a central part of our lives, their wisdom and love a guiding force for our family. In their final years, my grandparents' health began to decline. It was a difficult time for our family, but we faced it together, supporting each other through the ups and downs. Emily and I made sure to spend as much time with them as possible, creating memories that would last a lifetime. When my grandfather passed away, it was a profound loss for our family. He had been a pillar of strength and wisdom, a guiding light in our lives. His funeral was a celebration of his life, a testament to the impact he had on all of us. As we gathered to say our goodbyes, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the love and guidance he had given me. In the months that followed, my grandmother's health also declined. She missed my grandfather dearly, and her spirit seemed to fade without him. We did our best to support her, to fill her days with love and laughter. When she passed away, it was another profound loss for our family. Their passing left a void in our lives, but their legacy lived on. Their love, wisdom, and strength were woven into the fabric of our family, a guiding force that would continue to shape us for generations to come. We honored their memory by living the values they had instilled in us, by cherishing the love and support that defined our family. Emily and I continued to build our life together, raising our children with the same love and dedication that my grandparents had shown me. Our home was filled with laughter, love, and the lessons of the past. We taught our children the importance of resilience, the value of family, and the power of love. As our children grew, they carried forward the legacy of our family. They were strong, resilient, and compassionate, embodying the values that had been passed down through generations. Emily and I watched with pride as they faced their own challenges and triumphs, knowing that they had the strength and support to overcome anything. One day, as I sat in our garden, watching the sun set over the horizon, I reflected on my journey. It had been a long and winding road, filled with trials and tribulations, but it had also been a journey of love, growth, and resilience. I had found my way through the darkness, guided by the love of my grandparents and the support of my family. Life had come full circle, and I felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. I had built a life that was rich in love and meaning, a testament to the strength and resilience of our family. I knew that the journey would continue, that our family would face new challenges and triumphs, but we would face them together with love and determination. As I looked out at the horizon, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the love and support of my grandparents, for the strength and resilience that defined our family, and for the journey that had led me to where I was. Life was unpredictable, filled with twists and turns, but it was also beautiful, rich in love and meaning. I knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but I also knew that we had the strength to face whatever came our way. Our family was a testament to the power of love and resilience, a legacy that would continue to shape us for generations to come. And as I watched the sun set over the horizon, I felt a deep sense of hope for the future, knowing that we would face it together, with love and determination. Bye-bye.